All right, welcome everyone to the Wallet Interoperability Special Interest Group call for July 28th, 2025. Today we will hear about Bifold from ClecioV. Really looking forward to that. Thank you so much for taking the time to present. We are recording this call. It will be posted on the meeting page later today. We are following the Linux Foundation antitrust policy and the Open Wallet Foundation Code of Conduct. Let's see. Are there any introductions? Looks like lots of familiar faces, or any announcements before we get started? Anything anybody would like to share?
Sure. I did put a note a little bit farther down the document. Yeah, there you go. Decal. If you scroll up one more bullet. Okay, Decal TS. This is a new lab. Well, this is a recent lab in the last couple of months. It was added to Open Wallet Foundation labs. They just announced their 1.0 feature complete implementation. Two links there in the agenda. You can check out both the note from Timo and LinkedIn, and also check out the GitHub repo. So we're pretty excited to see that news, and I'm hoping to get a blog post together with that team as soon as possible. Also, upcoming wallet interoperability SIG meetings. We have interoperability system requirements, building, running, updating, and documenting with Romek. If you can make this call, please do. If not, we will definitely have a recording and put it on YouTube. And then Monday 8/11, the first global interop of wallets. This is a presentation from the OpenID folks, who are also members of the Open Wallet Foundation board. So I'm getting some details together on that. And that's it for right now. Thanks, Shar.
Awesome. Yeah.
Other announcements, including that the Decal thing is pretty cool. That's a new query language that goes across multiple, can be used with multiple verifiable credential format types, which is pretty cool. Also, Indicio has contributed the what's called the Akapai minimal example, a new repository in the Akapai project, which makes it easy for developers to spin up and test out new features, debugging things, and trying out new things in a quick, easy way. It's something that has been seen in the community. Daniel Bloom created it a few years ago. Somebody else at Ethan at Indicio has picked up it and polished it off to contribute it, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be getting that out there to the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and we've got some more great speakers coming up in the next few weeks. So yeah, keep an eye on what we have coming up. But let's see, other than that, for project updates, Stephen, did you want to share any updates about Akapai?
That was just the one I was going to share. We continue to move on. We'll have presentations over the next week or so about more on Canon, the database updates coming, and I know Credo is making progress as well on their Drizzle ORM, which is a similar idea to what's happening with Canon and Akapai. So both are moving forward.
Drizzle ORM?
Drizzle ORM, yeah. It's a back end for database. It'll just make it easier to do user interfaces for things like large volumes of issuers or issuers with many with many holders and things like that. Sean.
Yeah, so the Occupy team is meeting tomorrow, and that is the Occupy maintainers meeting. And then on this Thursday, we have the Credo contributors call and the Open Wallet OWL test harness user group meeting is also happening this Thursday. I will put the time and date and link to those in the wiki page in a second.
Okay.
Awesome. And for the AME presentation, Stephen, that's going to be at the maintainers meeting tomorrow, or is it the user group meeting?
That's at the AME presentation will be at Acapug, which is a week from now.
Right. Okay. 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 Awesome. Let's see. What other project updates or announcements do we have? All right, lots of great things happening. With that, I will go ahead and pass the screen share and let's see. And yeah, pass it over to you, Clecio. Thanks again so much for joining us.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for having me. Let me get my PowerPoint, my slides back in. All right. Hopefully my slides are back.
Yes, they look great.
So if you have any questions, just feel free to enter in chat. I only have one screen right now, so I may not see right away. So feel free to interrupt me for questions and so on. So a little bit of history again. Bifold moved from Hyperledger to Open Wallet Foundation. We have been working on it for about Stephen, help me, 4 years. Is that it?
When did
Has been
it got started 4 years ago? Transitioned 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my team from BC, we have been taking on it as we start the needed for having a wallet in our jurisdiction here in Canada and the province of British Columbia. We've looked around. We were either had an option to either start a wallet from scratch or contribute to a wallet that already exists. Luckily, at that time, a Bifold wallet was contributed to Hyperledger. It existed some code there. There was a little bit kind of needed some attention, so we decided to, instead of starting another wallet, we kind of sort of adopted that one in a way, and we just kind of has been working on that one and improving since then. I guess first things like what is Bifold? So Bifold, it started as a mobile wallet app, and there was a description of the project that it was a app. So it was kind of white label wallet app that you could install with Android and iOS. We run into some not roadblocks, but there was some questions about like if it's an app we couldn't publish anywhere. So Hyperledger at the time didn't host any application or any product or service per se, and the Bifold app fall into that category of kind of a more of an app or a service. Under Open Wallet Foundation, I think we fall into the same space as well, where they're more than happy to host code, but not necessarily hosting services per se. It's more about the community that's created around that. So the app itself does exist as an example. And we pivot a little bit from that idea to be like a one stack app to be more of a framework where other vendors or other developers or other organizations could take out pieces of it, reuse them, and then release their own app. We went to several iterations as we migrate from having one single bulky app to a framework where we're able to override things and then create your own customized wallet. The goal is to have a framework that is extensible enough that any existing app could potentially, well, any React Native app, to be more specific, it does need to have that layer. It is possible for a native app to also integrate, but I'll leave that as an exercise. A React Native app would probably be the easiest one. So it's a React Native app, and it's a framework as well, where able to you can add your whole stack of Bifold user interface as is. You can override things like navigation. You can override specific screens, or you can override specific flows as well, or sequence of screens. And that is for adding wallet features to existing React Native apps. So there's an example app that we have been using to try, and that's what developers use on their day-to-day development activity, or you can create your own. I'm aware of several organizations that has gone through the path of creating their own version of Bifold, their own label, their own color scheme, and their own kind of a branding. Unfortunately, I haven't been very successful in getting them to advertise that. So that is something that kind of with this presentation, wanted to get more of a, if you're using Bifold, there is a place in the README where you could let the community know that you're using Bifold. Let me go to the next slide. Bifold has a really strong relationship with Credo. So Credo is the framework that helps build centralized and identity and verifiable credential solutions. The way that I try to explain to people is that Credo is more of a kind of it's a headless service where you can use the framework, so you can pick and choose and create your own services. Basically, Credo gives you that headless or server-side experience for issuing credential or verifying credential and so on, and holding credential and so on and so forth. Bifold, it's a mobile interface of that. So it's still built on top of Credo, but it adds the user experience, the user navigation, so it's more UI based. So we're building all those protocols and existing stuff. We're really just leveraging all those amazing pieces that already exist and the community has been working on. So Bifold is not, we're not competing with Credo. It's just built on top of Credo. It's powered by all the Credo stuff. All the protocols that exist in Credo has been supported and maintained, and all the features that are added in Credo, we inherit most of them. Some of them, there is a lag, there's a delay as it needs to build UI and user interface to support those. But the core functionality comes from Credo. Again, who is using? I did put a call out into Bifold and didn't hear anything back, so I'm gonna put in the call out. Maybe somebody in the recording will hear this, and maybe we'll update the README or help us let us know. But here in BC, we have been using Bifold/BC Wallet, which is just like a branded version. I tend to explain and tell people like BC Wallet is really like 95% Bifold with a few added customizations and BC exclusive flows or rules that we added. We have been using for a couple of years now. Currently, it's a small set of users, so it's about 5,000 users, and mostly lawyers that are using with our use case to access court materials. So it has been running in production for about that long. And we are currently working to expand that. Here in BC, we ended up with having two apps. So we have BC Wallet for digital credentials, and then we have the existing identity and authentication solution called BC Services Card. We're going to be merging just two code base in one. And the way that we're going to be doing is we're going to be porting all the BC Service Card feature as a module, as a plugin to Bifold. So that means is we're going to be really leverage Bifold existing code base, adding even more functionality. In this case, most of it is going to be BC specific, so it's not going to necessarily exist in Bifold. But those features will still be available in the BC Gov repository. So if you're interested and wanted to know more, feel free to check out. A lot of those features has to do with identity verification. So when you activate the app, when you're setting up the app, there's a process which we need to verify you are who you say you are before we do kind of a identity device binding, and then your application, your app is then activated, and it's proof you have proof who you are. Our plan is we're going to start that as a custom protocol as it comes from the service card, and hopefully parts of it will graduate to become it's kind of a larger protocol for identity verification, and that then goes into Bifold. and add more plugins for collecting different evidence of identity. Right now, AI is just it's kind of a day-to-day thing. We need to add some resistance, some tampering proof resistance when it comes to how do we collect those digital evidence as well. So there's going to be opportunity to add so liveness check, identity verification, proof that you're not a AI generated video, AI generated photos and things like that. So we're going to be using some of those some security features to counter those AI generative features. We currently support 3 verification methods right now. One is in person. You can start the activation process, and then you can head to a Service BC office, and you can finish the activation in person. The other one is what you call send video, where you can do a recording of yourself with some liveness prompts and liveness checks. And then that evidence is sent to us, and and then Service BC will verify it and validate, review those evidence, and see if that checks our records, and then make a decision whether that is going to be verified or not. And the third option, it's a live video where someone can just start again the verification process, but the final verification validation is through a kind of a live agent call, like kind of meeting call. That option is only available during business hours, though the send video kind of address some of those other things where people usually need their verification at night or for whatever reasons after business hours. They can do at least start the verification, and in the morning when agents are starting, they can verify those. Bifold, as it started as a Aries and on-cred wallet, it does just similarly to Credo, to be fair. It has evolved since then to support multiple protocols and multiple credential formats. So basically anything that has been added and has been supported by Credo, we could very well potentially add to Bifold. We, as my team, who currently is one of the collaborators and maintainers of Bifold, we're focused on the unknown creds part because that's what we need. But we are keeping an eye on other progress. Currently, there's actually very active work from other jurisdictions where building OpenID for VC and SD-JOT, so that feature is already available, although in progress, to provide a user navigation that is kind of a similar regardless what credential you're using. There was a lot of work added to credential branding via OCA, and that's a very simple way of adding some branding to credentials. Again, there's a lot of work on that one. One other feature that exists is mobile verifier, where I can connect to mobile apps or introduce to mobile apps, and then I can ask for credential like from app to app or mobile to mobile perspective. We call that mobile verifier. That is a feature that we have here in BC. We have been looking into different ways to kind of how can we make this more widely adopted. The verifier part has been one of the things that has been signaled to us from our stakeholders and partners, that it's a costly process and it might introduce delays into the process. So for instance, we have been using mobile verifier with court services, where lawyers can go into into one of those facilities, and in order to provide that they are a lawyer, they can do that using BC Wallet with their lawyer credential. And on the countersign and security desk, they're just using a BC Wallet app / Bifold, where they're just in mobile verifier mode, where they can just verify credentials. One other important feature that exists is app attestation. App attestation. App attestation is in order for us to start creating what we call issuing what we call a person credential. We needed to know that that app is that is a legit app that has been the one that we publish. Since we're dealing with open source, it's very easy to copy and produce your own version of Bifold, your own version of BC Wallet. All the materials are available. It's in the open. So for us, we still needed to have some trust and security that we know that that credential is not going to be leaked, or all the crypto materials that we spend so long and a lot of hard time trying to protect them, they're just not going to be leaked outside, right? So App Attestation is that integration with both app stores, both Google and Apple, that gives you that integrity check and like, yes, this is an app that has been has been created by this organization, and this app hasn't been modified or compromised in ways that they guarantee that piece. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, so we do rely on their service, on the app attestation service for both app stores. And we could always add some extra security checks as well. So those are the things that exist. I forgot actually the first point is like, as we're using non-cred, did call messaging, and we do use push notification messaging, something that we use very very extensively. With if your person credential is about to expire, or if your driver's license is about to expire, you get a push notification, you get a message notification that, hey, your credential is going to be it's about to expire or has been revoked. If your credential has expired, you get a message that your credential has been revoked for whatever reason. So there's both features there. There's the revocation notification provided by a non-cred, plus messaging that provides some other details about why that credential is being now marked as revoked or invalid. Bifold has been one of the main differentials that we do use a lot of user research. We do have a UX researcher and UX designer within our team who does extensively kind of a wireframing and user testing, accessibility. So we tend to prefer things that are more on the simpler and easier side. So I tend to sometimes joke around is like, you can use verifiable credential, but you don't need a verifiable credential degree. So at the end of the day, the average users, they don't really care that much what is the tech behind. From our perspective, what we have heard is that they try to model or to create that link to what they're familiar with. And they're familiar with what the Google and Apple wallets currently exist. So something that they need to finish a transaction or to access something. So we tend to focus on that experience, and less on clicking on the UI as much as possible, so that user experience of scanning something and you're either going to be receive something or you're going to be providing something about you or about something. That is the main focus of our user experience. You can still manage credentials, see a list of credential, see which one has been revoked and so forth. But we found that most users, they just need a credential, they want to get one, they want to save on their wallet, and then they want to use it when needed. It's there and it's available. We have been working this project for, again, about a couple of years, but it's far from done. As I said, like we adopted this project. The code was mostly kind of a single based. We're still in the process of creating more modular. We introduced dependency injection. We kind of borrow some of those principles and idea from Credo itself. So a lot of the different parts of the app are you can just replace and provide your own screen, your own business rule, your own how do you want to do PIN for your wallet. So those are the things that are all overridable right now at this moment. You can have your own, you can remove your own stack. You can use your own stack, navigation stack. If you don't want to have like 3 buttons at the bottom, you can have 4 if you want. Or you can have the scanning button somewhere else. So you can provide, you are able to provide your own toolbar, your own navigation, and still leveraging some of the core functionality. So remember that every time you're removing or you're extending or replacing something, you're kind of off the supported model from Bifold, then you're on your own to keep track of that compatibility. So you can provide your own customizable UI and flows. Like for instance, a issue we call, when I say flows, is like issuing credential, receiving a credential, and so on. On that process as well, one of the things they've noticed, like when they're scanning a QR code to issue a credential or present a credential, we have made it some tweaks and changes to the protocol itself, like we're leveraging Go codes from known creds and that QR code to really drive the user interface to a process on what is the intention from the issuer or verifier. And on creds, there is also this idea of you can have a connected issuance verification, or you can have a disconnected issuing experience. And we found that we needed something in between. So we kind of come up with this ephemeral connection where you're connected, you can still receive a connection back and forth and execute multiple flow, multiple issues or multiple verification, but that connection will automatically be removed at the end of that flow. So the users don't necessarily need to keep that connection. So it's almost connected, but it's not quite. We call that a ephemeral connection. The theming and how we apply theme, color scheme, icons, and typography is something that we have spent a lot of time as well refactoring, making sure that it's using consistently, has all the accessibility features for zoom in, zoom out, reading out loud, color contrast. We check those is more of a the wallet vendor or the organization responsibility to make sure that they use the right color palette. But we do provide all the places where you could customize the color palette in place. For us, as we're looking into expand from 5,000 users to potentially 2 million users, which is the user base for base service card, we needed better speed, performance, and reliability. So speed when it comes to ledger, access to ledger at this case, how can we cache some of those records and some of those objects? Like for instance, we know people will need a person credential. We can cache the credential schema, credential definition in the wallet upon initialization, and then we can do some checks on a daily basis as well. So there's some caching involved that improve that performance and stability of the app. Rewriting a lot of the navigation stack to provide performance so things are fast and kind of speedy in a way. We had some issues with kind of the screen sometimes there's a jitter or it looked like was frozen. So we needed to adapt that quite significantly, and we're still changing a lot based on user feedback. And reliability, sometimes things work, sometimes things just doesn't work, and we don't know why. I think one of the things that we have been working is really from the traceability, kind of from debugging perspective, adding how we do error handling, how do we do debugging from Credo side and kind of a bubbles up all the way to Bifold as well, that we can provide a good user experience that when something is wrong, we're able to provide maybe some step on how to recover from that error, from that scenario. So yeah, we have been doing a lot of work from when it comes to error handling and how do we do that part. And as I mentioned, more protocols are in the works. You can OpenID for VC, it's available already, but it's still in progress. I don't think it's done quite yet. We do have would like to explore more when it comes to MDocs and how that is going to be connected. I know that is already supported within the Credo stack, so add some user navigation, user experience on that side. We also would like very much to have that tap PLE experience from their different ways of doing, but getting some experiments or some features on that front would be very helpful. I've heard as well as some some experiments, even use like passkeys and that proximity protocol to connect and kind of trigger some of the process. That would be really helpful. Right now we have about 9 maintainers currently. You're probably going to notice that most of them are from BC. My many thanks to Jason Leach. He was going to join me. I don't know if he has joined already, but he does host the Bifold user group calls and meetups. So my many thanks to him. Yeah, so we have been working along. It's a relatively small team, and we're always looking for more collaborators and maintainers as well. I do think from the open source perspective, it's important to have more representation from other organizations as well. So we have one, we can leverage other work, but also make sure that we are foster that good open source community. And again, there's always different use cases that we might not be aware. So I really like to see more representation and more support from that front. And I'll sort of end my presentation with like, we need more collaborations, more collaborators. So support, even if you're participating on if you're using Bifold in any shape or form, or if you're thinking about it, if you're having it's in pilot or whatever, whichever state, feel free to let us know and add that to the README so we're aware. Also, it helps because if we know you're using, and if there is any break change, we can kind of understand a little bit how you're using specifically. So make sure that we don't impact too much of your project. Of course, developers, it's always helpful and very much welcome. There's always a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of features that can be added from Credo and be supported by phone. Testing QA, so there is the testing and mobile testing harness. We do need a little bit of some attention there. That'd be great. Documentation is always helpful, can never say enough. So helping new people join the project, and those developers who want to collaborate and participate, make that experience as easy as possible. Keep in mind that working with mobile app and React Native, it's not exactly an easy experience from the get-go. One, when you're dealing with iOS and Android, you need to have a different system. They're completely different platforms, and they each have their own nuances. So it's sometimes overwhelming for new developers. So trying to keep that documentation up to date would be very helpful. Security is we can never have enough eyes and people reviewing code or reviewing our approach to make sure that it is secure in all the ways that we haven't thought about it. So yeah, so if there's anybody who has that capability as well, please help us out. Even other things like project management, road mapping would be very helpful. I know Jason Leach does the great job on the user group, but a common question that we get is like, oh, what is the feature X? Is that on the roadmap? So like for now, my team and I, we're really focused on what we're needing, and we're happy to collaborate and put that in the open, but we don't really have a full roadmap yet. But I really like to get into that state where we're able to provide a roadmap of what features that people are wanting to leverage or has been asking for. And then we can provide a nice roadmap of coding. So for now, we don't have that yet, but I'll be happy and it'll be a very good addition. That is all I had for Bifold. So we have been working on advance and adding new features and stability quite diligently in the last couple of years. But if you have any question now, it's your time. I didn't include a demo for this one. I don't know if people were interested or not, or just wanted kind of a more of a project update. But I'm more than happy maybe to come back and do a quick demo as well. Does anybody have any question,
This is
comments?
awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. When are the bifold calls? How can folks get involved in those?
Yeah, Bifold calls is every other Tuesday. They kind of Akapai is one Tuesday, and then Bifold is on the other Tuesday.
I
Awesome.
believe the Bifold community is taking the summer off from calls, so I think we're starting up again the first week of September.
Correct. That is correct. Yeah, we're on a break right now.
Awesome. Great to hear.
I'll stop my sharing. Okay.
Romek, you got a hand raised.
Yeah, you released version 2.3 3 days ago. What's new?
We have doing a lot of patching. So there's not a lot of new features. So the automation process, the automatic release, like for the way that we use from BC Wallet, we don't have a dependency based on code. It's just a dependency based on kind of a on those npm packages. That is a good question that we have been slowly trying to add some of those change sets from that Credo has been used quite effectively. So we wanted to answer that question as well.
A change log would be good, would be helpful. That's what I'm saying for someone's watching you.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that we struggle is that we do release quite often, quite
Yes.
frequently on small releases that we update things. So we're still trying to figure it out how to do that release manage that change change log that is more meaningful in a way. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of small things. So yeah, so we're looking to ways of providing that change log in a better way. But otherwise, it's just like a lot of small things that gets released quite regularly. But that is something that we're looking into it. And if somebody has any help and advice, please let us know.
Yeah, I'm looking at you as an external building your
Yeah.
code. I've got to do another build this week because you're updating every 2 weeks on the versions. So looking at from DevOps view, it's you release a version, we've got a full DevOps on it. So I'm sort of seeing how often do you wish people to look at this code externally as it was like so when is a release here?
Yeah, we don't have that yet. We do. We got as far as like, well, we're agreeing that we're not making break changes. We kind of when we introduced the change set and the automation, we kind of moved from 1 to 2 a little bit by accident, and we couldn't kind of go back. So we're going to stay stable as long as we don't make kind of a break changes. We're going to stay on that major and minor release, and then we're going to continue to do patching. But that is a food for thought. I'll maybe we're going to figure out a way of do that change log. So patching will continue to be regularly. Minor releases, that's kind of when we expect to see a little bit more of a change nodes and change log. But yeah, that's a good point. Good question.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Could I ask what's next? You're talking about lawyers.
Mhm.
You alluded to a 2 million target population of users. What are the other use cases that you're really targeting for
So
the
there's not necessarily bifold, but again, I can talk about the BC wallet, how the use cases that we are leveraging bifold for. So there is a lot of other use cases in process, and they all rely on the wide adoption. So it's a little bit of kind of a chicken and egg situation. Like we have a lot of interest on how to on people and our stakeholders using verifiable credential, but it's not in the hands of everyone yet. So one of the issues that we are trying to address is first kind of bring those two apps to one app experience. And then we're going to roll out new use cases. The most widely one is probably going to be digital age verification for someone trying to buy a restricted goods online, especially comes from liquor cannabis regulation branch. Those would probably be the most widely use cases that everyone will have an opportunity to play with. But we also have, we're working on this, what we call the integrated identity systems. So we want to replace all those other protocols with verifiable credential in a way. So
Right.
automatically our systems logins will be based on verifiable credential. So that is what is coming down the pipe. Right now, we're working with several stakeholders. So, for instance, City of Vancouver is using for issuing license and permits. We're working with also LTSA for land titles, and they all kind of there's lawyers, land title, City of Vancouver, digital age verification for pretty much everyone. And there's a lot more other use cases that it's happening in unlocks on the background. So I think we're just preparing. There's again this chicken egg situation. So we know there's over 2 million people who are already using the B Service Card app, and we're creating segmenting systems that are verifiable credential enabled login. So we're going to be bringing them all together. So at the end of the day, people will be using verifiable credential, but they won't even know. It's going to be very transparent to them.
And if I could just ask on the critical side of this, the issuance of verified credentials, albeit the citizens and businesses may not know, do you have a pipeline of those organizations that will be issuing the verified credentials, and are they actively engaged in understanding what they need to do to issue them?
Yeah, we do internally from what we call Crown Corporation or broad public sector. We do provide what is called the digital credential service for them. So we do have a pipeline or different agents that we provide for them. So for instance, even like external it's already out there. You're able, if you go through a certification that you are allowed to serve alcohol or you're allowed to sell cannabis, or you're hosting a special event that serves alcohol, those certifications can be saved digitally in your wallet. Those would be another use cases that exist. So those issuance pipeline, like we manage the keys as a government, we own that did in a way, but we just delegate that third-party organizations can then issue credentials on behalf of the government, so they get API keys to issue. But if needed, we can revoke those, right? So we still have that level of control for the issues of credential. That is not the same for everyone. Some organizations are fully kind of autonomous in a way. For instance, City of Vancouver, they have their own autonomy within the permits and certifications that they issue.
And a final question, sorry, Shah. If there was two big asks from the Open Wallet Foundation in terms of componentry, bits of open source components that you don't have that you would love to have, what would they be?
So I think the biggest component, I think what we have been asking quite often would be that more tightly integration when it comes to the crypto and the native OS crypto styles. Having a KSM or a crypto management that is across the board and would be very helpful.
Right.
For us, from more of a user experience and what the use cases are waiting for, like the digital age verification, or digital verification. Like sometimes we tend to think as like just being remotely, but sometimes there are transactions that are just enabled by digital verification, right? For instance, a landlord is renting something and want to or somebody who is renting something from a landlord and they want to verify that you actually is allowed to rent the property, right? There has been several several instances of a scamming on that and on that area front. So I believe that BLE, that connection with passkeys, those would be really helpful features to have as well. Those
Great.
would be my two takes.
Thank you.
Um, and I think like from Open Wallet Foundation and the different projects, it would be really helpful as well to have like a cohesive ecosystem that is not as fragmented, that is based on user experience. If we want to be able to create wallets, the user experience is extremely important. Um, when we started this, wallets was very more of a developer centric. Yes, you could send message, you can use credential, you can verify, but we're not very friendly. Users were very confused about all the process. So creating protocols and all those modules and those tech parts that are very important needs to, at the end of the day, support a very seamlessly and easy user experience.
Great. Thank you very much. Very useful.
I was curious, could you talk about what has been learned from being in production with the lawyer use case with the BC wallet? I guess whether that's on the DevOps side of deploying to production, scaling, feedback from end users, just curious what you've learned from that process.
Um, I've learned from the users, like once they get it working, that's part of the make it easy. We gotta make it as easy as possible. We're dealing with a very kind of a wide range of demographics, from people from young age, older age, people who are sometimes averse to technology. Um, Oddly enough, I was in a call, on a troubleshooting call with someone who didn't want to update their iOS phone because there was something about Starlink features, and they just didn't want to update their phone because like I don't support blah blah blah. So there's a lot of some hesitation at that point as well. So ease of use and something that we kind of set and forget, it's very important. Um, the other thing is like having fragmented apps or specific apps that the users don't understand when to use what, when, or where, which affect us. For us is this B Service Card and BC Wallet app. So having different apps that for them, what we boils down is that something they need or they need to access or do something. They don't want BC Wallet or BC Service Card. They just want access to the service that they need, right? Or they just want to present something to the city of Vancouver. From the DevOps perspective, I think we have a very good automated pipeline. We're able to, again, from BC Wallet, we do have like, we're introducing more change logs to that point, like having a good release management. And that one makes into a pipeline where we update BC Wallet, and that one gets automatically reviewed, tested, and pushed into app stores. That was very helpful. There is some, for us, one of the parts that we struggle at times, I think maybe we're still struggling, is some of those um, native components or wrapper, things like ASCAR, some of the crypto parts. Sometimes we stumble and we have some issues with that. What else? I think the other thing that came out as well from using a non-cred and indie ledger specifically was firewall issues that we came across. Some organizations have firewalls that are more strict, some organizations are more flexible, more open. So that was kind of one of the motivation. I'm gonna say one of the small ones from a user perspective was also that that firewall issues that we're seeing some lawyers were experiencing.
Right. Interesting. Thank you.
Vincent?
Yes. Hi. I also great presentation, by the way. I also put it in the comments, but the chat. But is there any documentation available of the BLE passkey?
I don't. I've
No.
heard stories about, and I think there might be some code out there that
Yeah.
uses that passkey channel, the Bluetooth transport layer. But I haven't dug too much about it. So maybe ask on Discord channel. It might be something even on the Credo channel. Might be you might find someone.
Yeah, okay, because we're interested in person. And I think
Yeah,
you also said tap and BLE or tap and connect. I forget.
yeah,
Sometimes that's used generically for MDL kind of things where you tap to authenticate and then or activate as the term they use,
yeah,
and then you decide how you transfer the information. And usually it's over BLE, but it could also be over NFC or local Wi-Fi direct.
yeah.
So this would be at a different wrinkle on an
Yeah.
MDL, which sometimes that's not good, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just want to have one way of doing things, for support.
Y-
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely interested and even from both from BC,
Yeah.
I'm interested. We're interested from Bifold. I think that's a great feature regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one thing that we'd notice like the we're focused on a remote digital
Yeah.
verification,
I understand that.
but all of those we
Yeah.
have seen that there is a intersection where that remote always bring along the in-person. You can see even like LinkedIn, it's intended to be remotely, but you can see people when go to conference, like what's their LinkedIn, and you can connect, right? So those remote, firstly intended remotely feature are now used for in-person mediated as well. So it's that line is not as clear as it exists, and yeah, we really like to support that as much as possible, and especially for digital age verification. We're talking in if you're buying cannabis or liquor online, or if you're buying a liquor store, the experience would be very similar. So it's less confusion from the user perspective. They just know like, oh, I don't need to know like is this one versus that one.
Yeah, I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's good. One other question. You mentioned ephemeral connection or
Yeah.
ephemeral credential. I'm not sure which it was, but what is that?
Connection.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you establish a temporary connection. Is that the concept?
Yeah, you establish a temporary connection that has it's linked to the limit of that transaction. So if
Oh, I see.
purpose
Okay.
the purpose of that connection is to issue a credential, once a credential has been successfully issued, both sides agree to hang up.
Oh,
So that there's yeah,
that's a very nice feature.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like if I'm logging in, if I'm connecting for the purpose of verify or log in, once
Yeah.
the protocol is done, then both sides hang up. So it's not a long-standing connection, it doesn't stay. But sometimes we've noticed it's just like connection.
Yeah.
Connection is something that we struggle a lot because the average user doesn't understand what it's for. It's more of like a protocol layer. So we tend to surface that as a contact. So there's a lot of user research on like how, if, when we can leverage connection. And you're probably going to see the bifold right now. Connections, contact is quite a little bit hidden way. It's not a feature that is at center. It is being advertised, it's not on the main screen. That's because the average user was quite confused about it. What is the purpose of this? Because I already have my phone contact list, or already have this or that. So we've had a lot of user were quite confusing. So we decided to hide it a little bit until we learn more about like when and where that is. I know the messaging and having that connection is it's important in the future, but we're not quite sure that how to expose. One of the concept that is we're working in BC is this idea of verified contact. How do you know with certain degree of confidence who is on the other side? So again, a protocol that introduce each other, let's say like someone is going to be willing to disclose about themselves, usually comes from an organization perspective. Like if I'm connecting to someone who claimed to be a government agency, they will be the first one to say, "Hey, I am governor of BC, and here's why." Or I'm interacting with the city of Vancouver, and here's the proof that I am city of Vancouver, and so on. So having a verified contact, especially from an organization perspective, it's kind of an anti-phishing feature for us that also reduce scamming from a user perspective. We have seen a lot of that on the rise, especially right now. So that is a feature that would be nice added.
Okay. Yeah, there was a famous New Yorker magazine cartoon a number of years ago, and I just saw it recently. There's a dog talking to the dog saying, "Nobody knows your dog online."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's like 1990s or something. So it's been around for a long time. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, that is, yeah, knowing who is on the other side. I sometimes even know that you are a
Awesome.
person. You don't need to know exactly who you
Of
are. You need to
course.
know that you are a human being.
Well, it's more appropriate today than it was back then, but the idea is you anonymity on the internet. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can post if it's in the chat, I'll put it there because I think it worked.
Yeah.
I thought it worked. But hopefully it went through. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Appropriate for everything we do here. I
Yeah.
posted the picture in the chat. Well, thank you for your wonderful work. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clecio. Looks like we have just a couple minutes left. Does anybody have any final questions? All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Clecio, for joining us. And it'd be great to have you on in several months again to hear an update and yeah, hear how things are going a few months out and see a demo and yeah, just keep up with the project. And looking forward to hearing what you all are up to in September when you start your meetings back up. So
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you so
Happy
much
to
for
be
taking
back.
the time. Yeah, absolutely. And join us next week as well. Ramik is going to present on experience of building all of the projects. So seeing how they work together. So really looking forward to that. Thanks everybody so much for joining. Thank you, Clecio, for presenting, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.